road game, the questions were, can ASU win a Big 12 game on the road? Obviously, you guys were able to accomplish that. Even though you're meeting a much different opponent in Kansas State this week, do you think you can take away just the game prep towards that road game and obviously the result over there as you prepare for the Kansas State contest?
Maybe, hopefully. I mean, different beast this week. But you would hope just the confidence of, we're 2-2 on the road. So you would hope that, we've won a few games now on the road, so hopefully we can go play well. But it's a really good environment, really good team in November. So coming off the bye, unfortunately.
Chris Carpenter, no source. Is there any update, Kenny, on Cam, Scatterboo, and how does this season feel compared to last season in November? It seems like you're a much healthier team overall. And do you think that the changes that you made with your practice warm-ups helped at all?
Good question. Scat, he's questionable for the game. I think he's going to try to practice, at least jog through some things, run around a little bit tomorrow. So that's a positive. He was trying to get me to put him in, the game at the middle of the third quarter. Like, let me go get suited up. No. You're not going to go get suited up. Like, not happening. But, so we'll see what it looks like this week. But it's going to be the same situation how, even though if he's cleared, I want to make sure that we're going to get the best version of Cam if he goes out there and he feels good about himself. Then in terms of the injuries, I just think we're a deeper football team and deeper, more talented football team. Like I said, last year, you don't fall on each other as much, which means you're on your feet more, which means there's less injuries in practice, there's less injuries on game days because you're not tripping over each other. And, usually more athletic people don't, not one individual, but as a unit, right, when there's less people on the ground, you don't get injured as much. So it's a simple thing. And then when you get injured, like we did last year when it rains and pours, so now you have more people on the ground. So now more people are getting injured. So it doesn't solve itself. I do think the changes we've made, I don't know if they've worked, but we're going to keep doing them because it's obviously better. But to say I know that, it's the thing we took and tweaked was the difference, I couldn't tell you. But there obviously is a direct correlation because the team we stole it from had a big change, and now we're having a big change. So hopefully we can continue on that.
What about Kyle Scott? He was close.
Yeah, he'll be good this week. He should be good this week. And then Keyshawn's questionable. He's like Scat. He'll try to run around a little bit earlier in the week, and we'll see how it progresses. Last week when I said questionable and doubtful, none of y'all believed me. Everybody's used to people playing games, they're actually questionable to doubtful. There's no games, they're questionable to doubtful. We'll see how the week progresses, but I do feel better about both those two than I did last week. But they're still questionable. They have to go do it, feel comfortable, feel good about it. Otherwise, putting them out there isn't doing them justice to themselves. It's my job to protect them from them.
Coach, in the spring, you had said that you have to teach this team how to win, and that was a big step for the program coming up. And you guys are 5-1 now in one possession games. What has been the key to you pulling out some of those games that maybe you would have lost last season?
I think just the guys have the belief that they're going to win the game. There's not a waiver. Our leaders on defense, people can look at them, they're like, all right, we're going to win a football game. And then you look at who makes the game-winning tackle, and it's, one of our kids in the leadership council, another guy that plays hard 24/7, X and Rouser, there at the end of the game. And then on offense, people can look at Sam, and they just have a lot of confidence that Sam's going to make the play when the game's on the line, and he's going to get it done. And so I think when you have a group of guys who just have that belief in one another that, whether it's offense or defense, that we're going to win, that's positive. And we've won games in a lot of different ways this year. And this was the first game that we won through playing smart football. I felt like we won that advantage. We won the nuances of the game. We lost all the other aspects, but we won that. And, our motto is smart, tough, the ball, the team. And this was, the first time that I felt like we won because we were a smart football team.
Next.
Hey, Kenny, thanks for kind of talked about how K-State coming off this wet week is coming off just a blip of a loss at Houston in the rain. Their offense not obviously looking normal phenomenal, obviously. But for a quarterback like Avery Johnson, the offense that you've studied of him so far this season, what did you see in that Houston game 2 weeks ago, and what have you seen just in the film of how maybe the game was a blip of their season so far, or do you feel like that this team, or there's parts of Houston's game plan that
Yeah, Avery's a star. He's a star in the making. I mean, I recruited Avery. I recruited him at Florida State. I recruited him at Oregon. His mom's one of the nicest ladies. His dad's an awesome dude, one of the biggest Chiefs fans you'll ever meet in your life. He had a garage just filled of Chiefs stuff that they would FaceTime me from. His sister lived in Vegas for a long time. His brother's an engineer. They're just a really, really good family. And he's a really, really good, smart kid that runs 4.3 and can throw it 50-something yards and is super intelligent. So he's got a really, really bright future, a very, very bright future. And in football, I asked, coach at Big 12 Media Days, they said one wish from the other coach. They said, don't play him when we play us. So I'm hoping that still happens. So regardless of what happened in the Houston game, that is not a reflection of this football team. This is a really good team. This is a team that was picked to win the Big 12 by a lot of people. This is a team that still is at the top half of the Big 12 race, playing at home. So this is a really good team with a really good quarterback, and it's going to be a great challenge.
Jordan?
Kenny Jordan, Ham Sports 360 AZ. You can debate whether it's a big receiver or a tight end, but on their roster they have Kansas State has 4 guys who are designated as tight ends who have at least 2 touchdowns. What sort of challenge does that bring, knowing that you have big bodies that are able to find the end zone?
Yeah, their running game is old school, 12 personnel driven, 13 personnel. I mean, they'll get into some 14 personnel. They'll put them all on the field. And when you do that, you create really good play action. And that's how you get people open, is run and play actions. And they do a really good job scheming up play action pass games, specifically in the red area, to get those tight ends open. But it all starts with the premise of they can run the ball, they can have a quarterback that can control the edge with his athleticism, which means now you have to cover people in one-on-ones. Then you have to account for the quarterback pulling the football. You have to get your hats right inside, but you also have to be aware for tight ends leaking in every way, shape, or form they could possibly leak. So they do a really good job as a staff, making you defend the entire football field, even in the red area.
Hey, Coach Mark McClune, Arizona's family, CBS 5-3 TV. Hey, just going back to maybe the initial conversation with Sam, getting him in here, and the motivation of the preseason poll in the summer. Vision with Sam, that motivation, how much of that is still kind of fueling this football team at this point in the season?
I don't know how much. I mean, I probably talked about the preseason media poll twice, maybe 3 times all off season. If they didn't see it, were they living under a rock? You know what I mean? I don't need to state the obvious. Everybody knows we are predicted to suck. How many times am I going to say, guys, we're predicted to suck before they see it that we're predicted to suck? Is what it is, right? It was the ability to not care. Who cares? They think of that. Well, there's a reason most of these guys transferred here, just because their last place didn't think they were worth anything anyways. Most of them didn't play at their last school. So they thought we sucked too. That was the nature of our team, was a whole bunch of people with chips on their shoulders. So I never thought that the media poll specifically was that, fuel to the fire. Yeah, but was that we recruited guys that were driven internally to be really, really good, and that wanted to be good internally, and that wanted to push themselves to be better, and wanted to be at a place where they could be themselves. And I think those kids being comfortable here, being able to be themselves here, knowing that they're going to be held to a standard, but we're also going to, get their butt kicked in a video game by the head coach and have that balance. I think that balance of having a lot of fun but working really hard has really put these guys in a position to start believing one another, because the relationships they're building. And I think there's genuine relationships on this football team that'll go beyond this season.
Doug and Sam.
Doug Franz, Upload Podcast. You said multiple times, I think the number was 3 in your presser Saturday, that you thought you didn't quite have the guys prepared, you might have gotten out coached, things like that. When you say that, are you being nice? Was there just not enough fire in the belly from the guys, so you're talking about more coach-player motivation, or Were there schemes that you don't mind explaining that UCF did that you had to go over on the sideline that you didn't have them prepared for during the week? What do you mean when you say that?
Yeah, a combination of both. So I think there was a few times. Obviously, we're trying to figure out the balance of confidence and cockiness. And I felt like we were on the verge of that. And like I told the team on Thursday, like, are we confident? Or are we cocky right now? Because we're right there. And I couldn't figure out what it was, but it was bothering me a little bit. I'm like, man, like, hey, we haven't experienced success. Maybe this is how we handle it, right? And I thought we were just on that verge. And I think we didn't run the ball as well, and they ran the ball a little better than most teams have run the ball. And kudos to them. But I felt like we got to get a little bit back to that underdog, and I kind of got us out of that mindset a little bit, talking about how we don't lose at home. That's not what we do. Like, it's home. We're going to win the football game. It doesn't matter what happened. And we did. We did all that. We found a way to win, which is awesome. But I felt like I did a poor job managing that. And then on the field, I think there was a few times that they got us in some zone plays where they got us IDing outside the box and chasing a few ghosts, and we were dead to some linebackers early in the game, and we could have potentially solved that with some formations. And then defensively, I didn't think we did a good enough job teaching our guys certain formations, like 4x1, you're going to get stops or slants. Like, why are we not pushing heavier into slants? And why are we not playing different leverages to take away the third down concepts? So I felt like there were things that I could have done as a head coach better to put our guys in a little bit better situation on the field. And then on top of that, I feel like I could have, changed how we went into the week a little bit better.
Sammy.
When you guys brought in Sam as a redshirt freshman, I'm sure part of the appeal was being able to develop him over the 3 or 4 years he might be here. Where do you think he is in that development track compared to where you thought he might be so far?
Probably a little ahead, to be honest, but he's right where I felt like he would be. When you have I don't know how long that meeting was, if it was 8 hours, 6 hours, like legitimately, definitely 5, right? But our meeting, like, what you're getting. You're not gonna, like, oh man, that dude doesn't love football. Like, you can't sit in there for 5 hours if you don't love it. So I knew he was gonna have a faster process, to develop because of the work ethic. What I didn't know was how quickly he would be able to see the field and his field vision, his ability to take a look, see it, and then spit it back to you and process it mid-game or after the game and remember it, right? And I think that's the part that impressed me right now is he's seeing the field really well for a freshman, and he remembers it, and he can recall this is like that game, or this is like what we talked about 4 weeks ago. His ability to recall the plays from prior learning experiences, I think that's helped his growth because you're not teaching him the same thing over and over and over again.
I know if it's not broken, don't fix it. And Jordan Tyson is having an unbelievable stretch here, especially with how he's playing in the fourth quarter. But what do you think is holding back other wide receivers? Maybe not stepping up to that level because it's a lofty level, but maybe just to contribute more than they have been.
Yeah. I think their time will come. To be honest, we had some opportunities this last week. We've had some opportunities throughout other games where we're really close to getting more people involved. We're trying to get more people involved. We were really, really close to a big play the other day. There's been a few opportunities with some other guys to have a big play. We're just, not quite there yet. And hopefully maybe this is the week. I keep saying this is the week, and I'm hoping I'm right one of these weeks.
Bill Belichick was the coach that a lot of guys kind of credit the middle eight, his ideology to, and his big thing was being able to keep an opposing offense off the field for like an hour of actual time between a drive at the end of the first half, a halftime break, and then if you get the ball in the second half. I'm curious if you're a subscriber to that line of thought, and then also if there was a certain staff you're a part of that were big on the middle eight, and that's why you talk on it as well.
Yeah, definitely a big believer in it for that reason and the natural turnover it creates. Right, every other time you score, you give the ball back to the opponent. Other than when you score at the end of the half, if they don't have enough time to score, that's a natural possession you gained in the game, which to me is a turnover. It was really the first coach that really dived into it heavy was Coach Lanning. The middle eight to me is more of a defensive philosophy because the defense doesn't want to have to go back on the field. Offensive coaches, we're like, score as fast as possible. There's 2 minutes left. Get a stop. We'll score. We'll get a stop. We'll score twice. right? As opposed to the philosophy of it's all about points per possession, which means if we have one possession and they have half of a possession with 30 seconds left, that's more valuable than us having a possession and a half and them having a full possession, right? So it's more of a, when I was with Dan and he harped on it to me, and that's where I always knew about it, but like I really started to believe in it. And if you can look at those games at Oregon, we actually, I think, led the country that year that I was the offensive coordinator there in the middle eight and in the last drive scoring. There's a period of time, it's very similar to us right now, where the stat is just really, really big in that period of time. And that's just because we call it for that, we prepare for it, we talk to our guys, and that's huge. I mean, it's the difference maker when you're talking winning the margins.
And what goes into plotting out a drive? You got the ball back with like 5 minutes left at Oklahoma State before halftime, and then similar thing this week. How do you like plot out the drive so you make sure that their offense doesn't get the ball back?
With 5 minutes, you're not like, oh, let me not score. Like, you're going to score. You're trying to score, right? That's your mindset. But there becomes a time where you transition that thought throughout a drive. So you just have to be adaptable, I would say. You know, when you get the ball with 3 minutes left, that's one thing. But when you get the ball with the 6 minutes left, you're not changing anything unless the situation then changes on you mid-drive, right? And that's just communication between myself, Coach Arroyo, Sam, in terms of, hey, our thought process is changing here. We're now getting into 4 minute, or we're changing thought process here. And so I think that's just communication, but it doesn't change like our game plans, our calls, or things like that very much.
Hey Coach, Ryan Myers, Devil's Digest. You guys are now 2 games through this like 5-game stretch to end the season, and with 3 huge games coming up to end the rest of the way. How's the team in terms of energy levels and feeling now with health and stuff like that heading into this last few stretch?
Yeah, I mean, I hope they feel good. I mean, we're playing meaningful games in November. So I hope we feel good. I know bodies are obviously starting to, I mean, we're pretty healthy, knock on wood, but, you know, the bangs and bruises and twisted ankles and soreness, that's real. That's football. That's part of week. We had 2 byes. So on top of that, this is week, 12 of the college football season this year. If you include the byes, or 11, I don't know. It's one of those 2. And it's just like, guys are going to not feel good. How do you get them to feel the best they can feel come Saturday? And that's my job, is what's the balance of preparing and also getting them to feel the very best they can feel when they take the field Saturday. And there's a really thin line between the 2. And if you do too much of one way, you're not prepared. Too much of the other way, they don't feel good. And you got to be able to move that line based off of your team and the input of your team and the input of your leaders.
Kenny, what has Jacob Richard-Banko brought to this team?
Energy, passion, joy, jokes, a lot. Lays, right, pregame. I mean, he's brought a lot. I mean, Jacob and his family they're awesome. Awesome family. Awesome kid. I mean, the energy he brings is contagious. He's what we call, I'm a multiplier. Like, he multiplies people around him. When he's around, you have to be better. You really don't have a choice. Like, there's not another option, because he's going to be so energetic, so passionate, have so much good energy that you're naturally going to be a better version of yourself when he's next to you. So he's done so much for this team. So happy he's here. Him and his family, they're around a lot. They're supportive, and they're awesome people.
Coach, so far this season, you faced 2 of the top 3 Russian teams in the Big 12, in Kansas and UCF. The other team in that mix is Kansas State. So I'm curious how those 2 games kind of prepared you for what you might see on the ground against Kansas State.
Yeah, Kansas State will be way more the Kansas world than we were the Central Florida world. Both those teams were really, really good at running the ball. It's a great challenge, to be honest. this is like I said, this team's picked to win the Big 12 by a lot of people, and they've, for the most part of the season, backed it up, other than a few blunders here and there. But we're playing them, the team that's picked to win the league, off of their bye week in their city. Like, there's a lot of great challenges. It's the second time we've had a bye week. We played a bye week, and then we had a short, or the opponent had a bye week, and then we played a Friday game. Now Kansas State has a bye week and we go to them. So, that's the second time we've had a really challenging team off of a bye week for them, which, hopefully our guys can understand that challenge and go rise to it.
Hey Coach, Jordan Tyson has had a lot of success these past couple of weeks. I just kind of want to ask, has the emphasis in the play calling and getting the ball kind of changed throughout the course of the season?
A little bit, but I think also we're taking what the defense gives us. So, different places on the field, different times in the game, we're just taking what the opponent gives us. If they want to leave one-on-ones, then we have to be able to take those. There was a time in the game where they doubled Jordan and they almost had a pick six in the first fourth down we had near midfield. They did a really good job scheming that up, to be honest. And so we got to get other guys involved, like we did in Jake 2 weeks ago on the slot fade. Like we had X going before he, tweaked his hammy a few weeks ago. X was getting in a rhythm, and then he tweaked his hammy, and then, dang, haven't found a way to get him back in a rhythm. So hopefully we can get some of these guys back into a rhythm here during these last 3 games, or into a rhythm here these last 3 games to, kind of get a little bit of pressure off of JT.
Else? Last one right there.
Hey Coach, what's made Hines Ward so effective as a recruiter?
Other than 10,000 yards and 100 touchdowns and a Super Bowl MVP, he's just a really humble person. You would never know the accomplishments he's had in his career. You'd never know it. And that's really his secret sauce. Like, nobody sees him as the first one in the building. He's in the top 3 every single day. He's top 3 in here. Does he really need to be a top 3 guy in the building? No. That's how he's wired. So what makes him that is he's honest with the dudes because he doesn't need to lie to them. He's done what they want to do, right? And he can be honest with them because they have to naturally respect what he's accomplished. And, he's so humble. He comes like, how should I do this? How should I do that? I go, I can't tell you what to do. Everybody's different. Like, everybody wants these cookie cutter, how do you recruit? You be yourself. Like, I can't be Hines Ward. Hines Ward can't be me. I can't be Coach Arroyo. I can't be Coach Ward, vice versa. The best recruiters are people that are just, in my opinion, real, or people that are really good at faking being real. And that's the hardest part about it. But just got to be yourself. And I think that's the best part about him is he's himself. He's humble. He's accomplished everything that these kids want to accomplish. Why would you not want to go play for that?
Actual last 2 questions, Doug and Colin.
The comment you made earlier that a player is nice enough to bring lays for everyone. If you were given a lay in week 1 and then the season didn't go the way you wanted, would you keep wearing the lay every week?
Oh, when they gave me the lay, I wore the lay. I go in, I actually put it, I have a miniature Tillman statue in my office, and I have a collection of them around Pat Tillman in my office, right? So I put the lay on Pat Tillman, I go change into my coaching attire, and then go coach a football game. So I have a tradition with it. It's pretty cool. So there's, I think right now we have 5 lays wrapped around Pat Tillman right now in my office on my desk. So it's pretty cool.
Kenny, going back to kind of expectations for this team at the outset of the season, I know the focus is obviously 1 week at a time, but it's also natural and human tendency to kind of see the finish line and the standings and how close you guys are. Is there any concern with the team, or do you like where they're at, kind of headspace wise to handle that?
Yeah, I think last week I kind of alluded to that. That last week was the first week where I felt eerie. I was like, but I didn't want to touch it yet because I didn't know how we play with that feeling, right? Because it was new to the program since I've been here. But I definitely think our guys right now realize, like, we have an opportunity. We're back at an underdog role. We're back being, 8-point dogs. We're back being counted out. Like, this is our we were playing a team with a head coach that's won 4 national championships. Like, that was picked to finish first in our league. Like, on the road. If this isn't a game that's challenging, that off of a bye week that's stacked against us, then I don't know what is. And if we can't get motivated to play a meaningful game in November, the last game out of the state of Arizona we're going to play this year is this week. And it's the biggest game because it's right now, but it's also the biggest game because it's the last game out of the state. Once after this week, we come back home and we're in the state of Arizona the last 2 weeks. So we got to go do whatever we got to do to play our best football game this week and then come home and stay home.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Have a great day.